Hello lads, and welcome back to every single smallest fastest 3x3 door tutorial. Today is day 3 and we're going to be doing all the tutorials on the smallest 0.4 seconds opening 3x3 doors. And I have two designs picked out here. This one is 99 blocks by Brickcrafter, Doormaker, and Geckos, or OGamerO. This one is absolutely crazy. The tricks used in this one are crazy. And the animation is perfect on the opening, which is kind of insane. Like, just look at this. The last move is entirely sync. Under 100 blocks. What the heck? Like, that's actually insane. But it has a major drawback of being, like, unfixably locational, which is kind of sad. But there is a way you can, like, input this externally with, like, a kind of bulky external setup. So, like, make this work reliably. I'll get to that when I do the tutorial. Anyway, we have a reliable version that is 100 blocks. The animation is not quite as clean. I used a different zero-tick setup. This doesn't inherently, the zero-tick setup used here is not inherently unreliable. It's just there's like certain restrictions in the wiring because of the size. Anyway, so this one closes in 0.75 seconds. It's by Doormaker, Brickcrafter, and Lomendo. And this one's closing is 0.55, I guess. So we're going to start off with the locational one. There's actually a showcase video for this on Brickcrafter's channel, so you should go give that a watch, because I did not make this. The minecart clips are a little bit annoying, but we'll make it through. This is the first door that features a double chest of materials. So this is everything you'll need. Yeah, you need 9 minecarts. It's actually, like, insane. So then, of course, there's need a chest, rails, and some dirt, and then probably some pistons and whatever, some extra pistons and levers and redstone blocks to push all the minecarts around. Most of them actually aren't that bad, though. So anyway, we're going to get started here with our layout. Grab all these things. So your door frame is going to be, you need to dig 2 blocks down, because it's like very top-heavy of a layout. Okay, anyway, after a brief intermission, our layout is as follows. We'll have the double extender on top right here, and then we'll have a folded double right here for this. And we'll have 2 side pistons like this, 1 on the bottom, and then 3 side pistons like so. And that will be the layout. Our input block will be right here. And the first thing that we have to accomplish is powering this piston right here. I mean, and this one, I guess. So we need our first immovable block right here to stop this one from pushing down. And also to stop this from pushing across, we need another immovable block right there. So that's all the obsidian out of the way immediately. So that's, you know, this thing. And now we just need to get the closing for this in the first chain. So we'll be doing that first. So we need a glass block right here, and then a kind of tower. Then we're going to have a redstone block, and then a note block right here, the sticky piston, redstone block, and then we're going to have a dust right here, and then block that off. And let's just power this for a second, and hypothetically, let's say that we have an immovable block right here. So right now, this is already like locational, because we only have 2 bed in between this piston retracting and this piston extending, so in unlucky locations, something like this will happen. So this is like an unlucky scenario, so I'm just going to move this, and I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so we moved it 2 blocks over, and you can see what is actually supposed to happen here. So this piston is actually not going to retract that one, and instead this piston has already extended by the time this chain runs out. And then this piston updates this one to retract. This one doesn't, I mean, this does technically add another bed, but it doesn't really matter because this thing would get like retracted anyway if this thing turns off at the wrong time. So yeah, it just updates it to turn off, which is necessary because it's QC'd from right here. Now we can deal with the closing, which is actually quite simple. We just need a stone brick wall, cobblestone wall, whatever wall you want right here. And then an observer facing down. What this is going to do is it's going to do nothing right now because I forgot an update. So since this block is already moving, we need an update to this at 3 game ticks, which is fortunate because there's going to be a slider right here. So we're just going to pretend that that happens. And so this thing spits out with a 1 game tick pulse, and then we get all this. And this also pulls back up at the very end. And this block spits out, but all of these pistons will have their blocks extended, which means we're going to need to have another immovable right here, which kind of gets in the way. This one's going to be a dropper. Don't worry, it's not going to click. We're going to fix that later, but you'll see why we'll make it a dropper. Anyway, while we're at it, we could probably make this slider and have our first silly entity placements. So what is actually going to be happening here is we're going to have a detector rail set up right here with a glass, and then what's going to happen is we're going to have a minecart that like powers this, and then when this slider goes up, it will depower all three of these pistons with some block event, because this thing grabs back at 6 game ticks because of this wall. So we need to have this have some block event, and we'll just have a butted slider to take care of that. So to place all these silly entities, I'm just gonna break all this stuff for now. We're gonna need 2 furnace minecarts. You don't have to do anything special, you can just kind of drop them right there. And then for the last one, you want to grab yourself a chest, or trap chest, I guess, doesn't matter, and then just kind of shove this minecart over. So it's like barely overhanging here, and then what'll happen is if this thing like pushes up a block, it won't go higher up. So this one just kind of blocks it, and then we're just going to have to push in these 2 blocks. The 0 tick, bang. Then you need our detector rail right here, and then don't forget to replace your dust right here, and then you need a glass block right here. So now you can see, well, this would work if, of course, there was another movable block right here, because when this thing retracts back, this thing gets powered instead. So it's like this, and then this back piston gets powered. That's not ideal, because, you know, there will be a block here in the actual door. And then for the last retraction, you can just update this, and then it kind of goes up. You can see that right there. So now we need 6 bed to get this chain right here. And the way we're going to do this is actually insanely genius. Like, I don't know how the heck they figured this out. This is like crazy. I mean, it is like kind of locational, but like you'll see in just a second, this goes crazy. So we're going to have a redstone block right here, and then have an observer facing this way, dust on it. The observer is not important just yet. And then we're going to have 2 blocks like this, and this one's going to be an observer for later. It's going to update this on the closing. And then we're going to have a rail facing this way, and it's very important that it's facing this way. If you face it this way, the door like explodes, so you have to face it this way. And the reason why is because, well, let's just place this minecart here first. We need a cart right here. We have to make sure to push it like this, because otherwise it's going to be coming into contact with a lot of other minecarts, and it will kind of get shoved out of the way if we just place it normally. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this up against this block right here just by doing this. So then this minecart right here is like exactly up against this block, and that's very important. So now that's kind of why the detector rail has to be facing this way, because if it kind of is facing the other way like this, it will just snap the minecart's position to the center of this block. And since the minecart hitbox is 0.98 blocks wide, there's like a very small gap on this side, which is important for later. So anyway, moving on, then just a dust right here. And believe it or not, that's actually like it for the 6 game tick, or for the 6 bed chain. You're like, what? How's that even? It's actually insane. Like, check this shit out. So, well, not actually, we need a piston right here to retract this rail at the beginning. So what's going to happen is when this thing extends, we need a movable there now. We're just going to update this. And this is also part of why it's locational. I'll explain that in just a second. So what's happening is when this block gets grabbed after 3 bed, or whatever, however many bed, might be 4, I don't know. Yeah, this thing probably retracts at 4 bed, I don't know. And then this thing will extend at 5, and then this thing right here is butted and is already on. So what happens is this thing starts extending, this thing starts retracting, this dust right here is butted, and then this piston retracting updates this dust, and then this dust turns off with 1 more bed, causing this to do a 0 tick. What? I mean, if you look right here, the dust gets butted, so then this thing retracts, and then it just Oh my god, it's so freaking cool. And then the reason why this is like locational again is because we need this sticky right here to not retract and update this on the opening. Is we need this one to go first and then this one. So it's kind of like doubly locational, but if one works, the other works most of the time. So you just need this dust to update before these ones, and then you're fine. Or before this one specifically. Then you're fine. So you can see that is just absolute ludicrous setup to get 6 block event in like a very small space. But unfortunately this kind of cuts up way too much space and doesn't leave very much for, you know, in the way of actually retracting this, because we need to give it a 0 tick now, because we are actually like retracting this. We can't just leave it on and then butt it at like 1 or 2 game ticks. So how to do that is where the rest of the minecarts come in. So what we have to do is just break down all of this that we've just built, because Doormaker presumably came up with an absolute diabolical setup to get a 3 game tick timing to that piston right here. Like, oh my goodness. And involves entities that I do not fully understand, so I will not be attempting to explain them. So anyway, just grab like a flower pot or something, right? And then just kind of grab a minecart like this, and then push it into a cobblestone wall or something. This one is not very important that you do anything, so you just want it right here. And then you want to grab your cauldron. You want to 0 tick this cauldron in here, and then it will break the flower pot, and the minecart will drop to the right height, which is exactly 4 pixels off the ground here. If we enable hitboxes, you could see there's an internal hitbox at 4 pixels tall in the cauldron. And then that leaves it so there's like 1 pixel of room at the top. And that's important because we need to make sure that any minecarts we stack on top of here don't get affected by this piston right here. And what we're going to do is just stack 2 minecarts using this trick right here. So one like this, and the second one like so. Bang. And then the third one, we just have to do the same thing. Might as well, right? I just broke it. All right, so that is like all the minecarts set up, more or less. You just have to 0 tick stuff in now. So sticky piston facing downwards right here. Then this one you can just place and then put your glass back, and then we have to kind of shove this piston back down. You can just kind of put that in place anyhow. And then for the actual setup itself, we have a string right here, and then we have an observer facing into this. And you can see if this piston activates and your string does not actually clock, then you've done it right, because what's happening is when this thing retracts, this some sort of internal hitbox, I don't know how or why, but this string gets freaking updated, and I like, what? Huh? Like, why 3 game ticks as well? Why isn't it just like instant? That's something that Doormaker is going to have to clarify. So it's just wizardry, really. So there's that. Don't test this just yet, because all this is going to do is destroy your door for whatever reason, because this rail is going to stay here for like too long, get retracted back into here, and then all these minecarts are going to clip onto the rail and then fall down, which is not something you want to happen. So what we have to do is, so this rail is going to go on like a mystical, magical journey through space and time, and gets retracted here from 0 to 3. And then from 3 to 5, it receives a 2 game tick pulse from this piston right here. And then at 6, with 1 bed, this thing retracts it. And then this thing pulses again because of the string. And then that's going to do the last 0 tick for this thing right here as well. So that's quite nice. And then to get that, we just need a no block right here, and then a regular block like so. And now we can give that a test. Just update that manually. You can see everything works out just fine. And then just update this. So we're almost there. There's still one more minecart to go. Well, it's optional, but anyway, to get the update for this, we're just going to have a glass pane right here. And it doesn't interfere with anything on the opening because it goes from 4 to 6 on the opening. And that's exactly when this thing is already retracting. Or sorry, yeah, this thing's already retracting. My bad. So yeah, now we can test this out. Yep, and then just update this. Bang. Now we just have to get the rest of the side pistons, and it's actually critical that we have an immovable block right here, and it's critical that it stays for a long time. This one just has to be immovable for like a little bit on the closing, exactly when this thing updates and moves down. So what we're going to do is place a redstone block right here, and that will actually bud this thing to stay on. We're going to grab a glass pane right here, and a block right there. And yeah, everything's fine. So what's going to happen is this thing is going to get powered like this, and then it's going to get budded, and then these two will retract in sync. And since this thing arrives at 2 game ticks, this absorbs from 4 to 6, and then everything is retracting in sync. And then the rest of this is just going to be a wall right here. And then this thing is going to power from, this dust is going to power from 2 to 4. So all we need is a normal piston right here, and then 2 observers like so. And that'll power the rest of these, as you can see. And also this is just the right timing for this to get blocked, which is super nice. So now all that's left is to update this, and that's what's going to be done in this corner right here. And we have absolutely 0 room to do any of this, but someone, I don't know which one of them, came up with actually a kind of crazy setup using a dropper bud. So this dropper is going to be budded on like this, so just kind of leave this redstone block there for right now. And then we're just going to silence this thing by filling it up with rails. And then we have to place a hopper minecart because all the other carts are too tall. You could probably do something about it with like a farmland clip if you don't want to have a hopper minecart to lag your world, but I'm going to leave that as an exercise to the viewer. So anyway, wait, I need to fill up the hopper minecart with a different item, otherwise it's not going to work. Anyway, right, so we already have so many entities, this one's probably like the least offensive out of all of them to place, so there's that. And then we're just going to have a simple little clock like this, and then this piston to update that with some bed, and then this thing. So when this thing fires, right, I'm just going to, I have to fire it with a block, so otherwise things may go wrong. I've not thought this far ahead. So this thing kind of goes twice, and the reason being is because when it extends first, it sends a block update to this thing realizes it's depowered, and then 5 game ticks later, it's done retracting, right? And after 4 to 6 game ticks, this observer is QCing this thing right here. Is QCing this dropper right here. So it's going to get updated to turn on again by this, and it just never receives an update to turn off. And this thing just pulses a second time. So yeah, there you go. Has a little bit of reset time here, and then it just powers instantly because this piston starts extending at 6 game ticks, and then, this thing starts extending at 4 game ticks, and then this thing powers at 6 and instantly updates this to go up with some bed. So we get a nice 0 tick right here, and then these things turn off in sync with the rest of the side pistons. Whoa, that was a long explanation. So anyway, man, this thing is so cool. Anyway, to power this thing reliably, to do it like unreliably or whatever would be silly, or just have a lever or whatever. The only way to really power this thing would be like with a repeater, and even so, I'm not sure if this will even work because it might just be unreliable like that. Oh, well, it works here, so I mean, if that works for you, then good, I guess. But if you want it to be like instant or whatever, you kind of have to do a little tomfoolery. So we're going to have a cool little instant rep set up right here. We're going to have a redstone block right here. I'll just update this. Then a normal block right here because we can't redirect this redstone. Then we need to have a composter with a comparator, or just signal strength 1, whatever. Put something in there, right? And then we have to have a slab right here, or glass, whatever. Ooh, holy voice crack. So then this might be enough. It just kind of depends on location. but if your door still fails, it's because this updates before this, and it's the fault of this dust because it's not doing what you want it to. So if that is still the case, you need to add another block event to this top piston like this. And then this thing should be reliable. Like this entire external setup should make the door reliable because it adds the one extra bed it needs or to make sure that these are ordered properly. So yeah, then this is like an instant dust input. You can run whatever into this. So yeah, that took a little while. But this door is so freaking cool. Anyway, next up we have this 100 block version of a 0.4 seconds opening 3x3 by Doormaker, Brickcrafter, Lamendo. This one is a little bit uglier on the opening, but it's like still like a passable animation. And it's reliable, has a couple entities, but they're actually not that bad. Not as bad as the last one, so let's just get on to building it. So you're going to need to start with a 10 by 10 by 1 area, and this is the materials list you're going to need. This is just so I can move them all into my hotbar real quick. So let's start with the door frame. It's going to be offset 1 down and and it's going to be skewed to the left. So right here, and it's going to be 4 blocks of space on top, 1 on the bottom, 2 on the left, and 3 on the right. So our double is going to be on top again. We're going to have another folded double on the side because it just, I don't know, it's very favorable for removing a zero tick. And then 2 stickies like this, 2 stickies like this, and then we're just going to build the zero tick setup like so. Anyway, how this is actually going to work is we're going to have this thing turn on and get blocked, right? And then we're going to push these 2 down after these go in. And then we're going to unblock this piston. It's going to extend. And then we're going to push this back up. And before this extends again, we're going to schedule this to retract. So you'll end up like this. And then we'll just pull this away at the right time and retract these 2. And the way we can get this to happen is by doing the repeater bud, right? It's because that's scheduled really early, and it's going to happen before this redstone block arrives right here and repowers this one again right here. So that's quite nice. So our input block is going to be right here above this thing. We need a dust right here, and then this is our input. I'm going to make it light green because whatever, you don't have to do that. It's just a personal preference. Anyway, we need to have an activator rail right here, and that powers the first thing right here, and we still need an immovable block. There it is. Still need an immovable right there, because otherwise that thing is going to power. So now to get the 3 bed chain, it's going to be almost the same setup as the other one, but we're going to have a normal piston right here, and then a sticky right here, and that's the 1 extra block event that we need. And then these 2 are just going to be observers. Oh wait, no, I lied. These 2 are going to be observers, and then your dust line is going to be right here. And we don't have to block that off. So let's just place some obsidians right here. So we still need the closing. You can see this thing just works. All right, so now we have our first 3 bed chain. Now let's just close the side right here. And we're going to have a first pulse, which is going to push out only this block right here because this one is going to be moving, right? And then when this dust line repowers with an observer right here at 5 game ticks, we need to make sure that this piston right here powers and not this one. So how we're actually going to do that is we're going to use this piston right here extending to block it. So we need to have our bud setup and extension setup just like this. So it's going to be extending at 3 game ticks with input bug, or 4 without. It's just, this kind of gets all really sloppy with input bug and whatever. And we actually need a piston right here to update this one. So now you can see our closing is going to be working. Then we have our first chain, but then everything kind of gets out of whack because this thing doesn't retract and then this thing isn't immovable. And then all the other pulses right here just kind of screw with it, which is kind of insane, but it works out. Anyway, so that is the top corner done. And now to get all of this stuff working, it's kind of, the rest of the door is like the entirety of getting this double extender working. So it's the 6 bed and the 0 tick left, and the side pistons. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, well, and also this last pulse right here. So let's just let's not see that because it will not work. So this thing will actually get the last pulse because it retracts instantly, and then these things pull from 4 to 6, which is nice. So we're going to have a block right there, and then just more bed. And then we're going to have this right here. You might be like, dude, we have like no way to get power over here to extend this thing instantly. And we're going to use a very interesting bud slider setup for this. So what's going to happen is this thing will start retracting, and we're going to bud this thing, and then it will just extend instantly on the opening with enough bed from this chain to actually push this redstone block up with enough bed to give this a 0 tick. So this slider is where the minecarts come in. So we need to place some cauldrons. No cauldron here, block here. And then we're going to grab a rail. It can just be any rail, even activator rail, doesn't matter. And place them all like this. And then we need to grab our walls and place them like so. And you just want to kind of go in and push all of these like one at a time. And some of them you have to like get a little creative with it. This one, let's just use it. Yeah, let's just do this. There we go. So now they've all been pushed into the walls like so. And then we need to have a piston here, and then we're just going to 0 tick these in there, like so. And then we're going to place our detector rails. Place these two first, right? Before you place this last detector rail, make sure you place an upwards facing observer right here, so this minecart doesn't get pushed out, and place this last one like this. And then you'll see that all these kind of get clipped inside of here, and they don't get moved out of this piston because the cauldron has sideways internal hitboxes, so they can't get moved. And then you're just going to grab a composter like this, and then you just want to push this up without a 0 tick. So just kind of place a redstone block like that, and then that composter will just be like that. And then we're going to have a normal piston right here as the return, so you can see when this thing goes down, right? You get all these powering, and then this thing will go back up when it receives an update. And then also, we're going to have a dust right here, and it's going to bud this thing. We need it on an observer, so I'm just like, place your 2 observers here, and then a dust here. And so when this thing goes down, right? Oh, it was just the wrong color. And then when this thing like powers, this thing does a 3 game tick. So this is just the slider. And it also gets the bed, and it depowers these side pistons, and it actually depowers this at the right time too, asterisk, because this thing is going to be powering at 2, this thing powers at 4, but it depowers at 6, and there, that 6 game ticks is what we want to retract this thing right here. And also just place that observer. And we need this thing to power at a specific time in the closing as well, because we want to make sure that this thing right here gets budded at the proper time after this thing gets extended. We need it to extend and retract we need this thing to retract at exactly 5 game ticks or so without the input bug, because that's between 4 and 6. And what we're going to do to get that to happen is just this simple bud like this, and then this thing will get updated by observer like so. So you can see this thing will retract after 2 game ticks, and then this dust from this redstone block arriving will update it at 5. And so then this observer turning off at 6 game ticks will update that thing. And that's everything. So that should be your entire door done. Oops. Bang. There was a bit of a problem with input bug on this because this thing would go down like too early on the closing, or it wouldn't be like accurate enough. Because with input bug, this thing is going to be at 4 game ticks instead. So it can be at 4 or 5 because this thing has more bed than this observer turning on, updating that one. It's just a piston, so that will do that. So that will block that. And then also for the closing, it wouldn't be fast enough if we just had a wall right here, which was like what was originally right here, or just from that piston. So instead, we have to have an input bugged thing right here, because this piston has to finish its extension right here for this piston to land right here, and for this resin block to land here, and then this piston will have to be done with its retraction for this thing to start its extension again, because it doesn't get updated. So now with the input bug, this thing's also one game tick earlier, in addition to this thing pushing down. So there's no more input bug. So that's nice. Then to power this thing, you need to drop a redstone block right here, which is actually quite simple. There's a very nice instant repeater design, like this. And then you just kind of have to power this thing with the same like slab trick as before, but I don't have any slabs. So there's a slab right here, and then redirect the dust. This time you don't need that silly external setup right here. So you can just kind of run dust into this, and then everything is fine. Bang. So yeah, those are the two best 0.4 seconds opening 3x3 designs for size and speed. I will see y'all in the next episode for even faster 3x3s and more pain for me.